Hello and welcome back to Cottage.
Croissant.
Sorry it's been a while. I've been away at university as usual and it has been hectic. But if you haven't seen, I've posted a couple of videos while I've been at university at Oxford.
Are we going to try and link them?
Yeah, you might link them.
Oh, there's a really nice one which hardly anyone's managed to see. I don't know if it's got something to do with these magical YouTube algorithms, but it's a really nice one about Oxford libraries that not many people, well,
they're not open to the public.
Yeah, they're not open to the public and they're absolutely beautiful. So yeah, if you're interested in Oxford at all, or architecture or libraries, then
or Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Yeah, they're worth a watch. Anyway, back to the thing. I've not been very well at all, so that's why I haven't done videos since Christmas. So yeah, it's been a long time, but we thought that we would share some of our favourite books that we like to read during this time of year. So ones that for one reason or another make us feel like it's springtime, isn't it? Which we all need, don't we? That lovely sort of exciting hopefulness that spring brings. So I'll crack straight on with this one. I mean, the cover alone is gorgeous. If you can see that.
It is a beautiful edition.
You bought it for me a couple of years ago for my birthday, didn't you? Which is very kind. Sally Vickers, The Gardener, and look, even the end papers are beautiful. So so basically it's about two sisters that buy a rundown farmhouse, a Jacobean farmhouse on the Welsh-English border. They're from London, and one of the sisters carries on living her sort of high-flying life in London and only comes back to the farmhouse occasionally, and the other one, who's an artist, sort of falls in love with it, really, of the romance of it, so starts doing it up, and then really starts, as the title might suggest, falling in love with this unloved garden and bringing it back to life with the help of an Albanian immigrant. And it's just sort of, it just highlights, and there's a running theme through a lot of these books actually, about the healing and restorative power of gardening and of nature in general. So there's almost a sort of supernatural sort of, are there fairies at the bottom of the garden sort of element as well. It's very subtle, so it's not tacky. It's just is there something going on here or isn't there? So it isn't, I wouldn't say it was magical realism per se. It's just that there's this sort of magical sort of thread running through as well. So yeah, it's a really, really nice book. If you like reading about old houses and gardening, and yeah, it's just beautifully written and perfect for this time of year.
Excellent. I haven't
you haven't
read it, so I
should be on your TBR.
Yes, never-ending TBR.
And then our next one, which I've put down, is one that we've both
one of
read.
Our favourites.
Sorry, we've only got an old copy of this. Lark Rise to Candleford by Flora Thompson. So, yeah, in fact, there's probably the two main themes that are running through all these books are either the restorative power of nature or a rapidly changing rural landscape and an author frantically trying to
preserve it.
Yeah, or capture it, isn't it, before it's lost forever. And Lark Rise to Candleford is, if you haven't read it, is one of those books. So it's kind of semi-autobiographical, isn't it? She's called the main protagonist Laura rather than Flora. And Laura leaves her little hamlet, Lark Rise, and goes to work in Candleford, the local market town. And it's just beautiful. Yeah, it talks a lot about, I mean, actually, it's nothing much happens actually in it, is it? It's more a sort of record of how people lived and how people thought and agricultural practices that are going. But there's something so beautiful if you like sort of nature writing and just feeling as if you're really stepping back in time reading a book. That's what I get anyway from that.
And I like the fact that it's partially autobiographical, and because it feels like you know the characters really well, because obviously the author does. and I really enjoyed it, and I grew up watching the TV series.
Yeah, we're going to be a bit messy with this video,
Yeah.
and we're also going to mention some DVDs that we love watching that we find, well, most of them, to be honest, go through all the seasons, but for one reason or other, we find them particularly sort of spring-like, don't we?
All the spring episodes particularly stand out for us.
Yeah. So yes, there's a series that the BBC did a few years ago, Lark Rise to Candleford, and if you haven't watched it, if you love, period dramas, it is absolutely exquisite. They actually went to the trouble of building a whole hamlet for this.
Yeah.
So all of the cottages and things that you see, it's set in a Cotswold hamlet and town. Well, yeah, all of them were built, and it is just stunning. It's beautiful. So I would really recommend that.
I don't know about you, but it's kind of got like Downton but better.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Yes, I suppose there's a slight element of that. But I mean, it is quite funny because literally they'll take. It's not true to the book in this. I mean, the characters are sort of true,
but they make some of them a bit more likeable.
Well, and also, I mean, in the book there'll be one little paragraph about alluding to something, and they'll turn it into a whole episode, and so there's a lot more drama in this. A lot of things happen. Whereas, not that much really happens, but yeah, I would recommend both of them. But yeah, this is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, you've got to read the book first.
Yes, definitely. And the next one you haven't read,
no,
which is just a bit of light relief. So it's called Hens Dancing.
Woo!
Sorry, Moody.
And it danced right off.
Hens Dancing by Raffaela Barker. And this first starts on Valentine's Day, so we're a bit late for it, but it then goes through all the seasons. And it's sort of a comedic take. I can't think what it's called, Diary of a Provincial Lady, isn't it? Well, yeah. If anyone's read or heard of E.M. Delafield's The Diary of a Provincial Lady, it's kind of loosely based on that, where she's sort of talking about living a rural life sort of throughout the seasons, but sort of a modern take. Well, I think this was written in the 90s, I think, or early 2000s. I've had it for years. And so it's just funny, really. She suddenly finds herself the end of February as a single mother to 3 very young children. And she has all these, I mean, anyone that's a parent can probably relate to it. You have all these sort of lovely images of, oh yes, we'll waft off and do this. I mean, for example, not that this is a spring one, but it's the one that comes to mind. She decides that they'll all go off at Christmas and gather holly and things to decorate the house. And so they spend the whole afternoon doing it, and it's absolutely glorious. And they come back in, and the house is freezing cold. The fire hasn't been cleaned out or laid or lit. All the kids are cold and hungry, and so start screaming and things. And it's just, it's very, very amusing. So it's very light. It's sort of in diary form. It is in diary form, not just. Yeah, it's in diary form. It's just really good fun, and it really made me laugh.
And you go back to it every couple of years.
I do, because it's just
you don't
fun.
often do that with books.
No. I mean, it's not, again, it's probably not a literary classic, but it's just, it makes me smile and laugh. And I really enjoy reading it. And the next one is another book about gardens. And I got a lovely really old copy. Old Herbaceous by Reginald Arkell or Arkell. And again, it's a very gentle book. What have I written? It's basically just about an old gardener. He's coming to the end really of his working life. He's a gardener. He's been a gardener all throughout the sort of Victorian era, and now they're into the Edwardian era. And he's so it's talking about how things are for him in that current time, but also sort of reflections on it. So it's sort of gently humorous, and there's nice sort of descriptions of gardens. Gardens on a big old country estate in England. So yeah, it's just the sort of thing you want to read at this time of year, or it is for me. Anything with gardens in, then
light and nature based.
Yes, yeah, you don't want anything sort of too dark and gothic. I don't think at this time of year. You want sort of light and positive and things that inspire you to go outside.
Oh, and this is a lovely piece of nature writing, The River.
Yeah, so this isn't a novel. This is just
novel. This is nature writing, so factual.
Yeah, so it was basically that Philippa Forrester and her husband, he's a wildlife photographer, and they end up buying this. The book sort of starts when they're looking for a home, and they end up buying this beautiful cottage. Well, it's a very large cottage right by a river, and they decide to sort of start filming it. They end up very quickly having three or four young boys. I think it's 4 actually. And they want to inspire their children to stop being on playing computer games and things and start really engaging with the natural world around them, because they're so lucky to have this beautiful river with otters and kingfishers and things on it. So it's about trying to engage the children in that, and also just trying to capture and really appreciating the natural world on your doorstep, because prior to that, her husband had always been, his job was to go and
travel to all these
go and
places.
film elephants and lions and different things. But they just sort of realised how much beauty and how much nature and how much drama as well there is in the natural world, just on a sort of gentle British river. So yeah, it's beautifully told. There's also a lot of humour in it. It's really, really funny. And again, it's just perfect for this time of year. And it kind of starts off really in the early spring. So it's beautiful. And going alongside that, I didn't actually bring it down, but there is also a TV series that was made by the BBC that you can also watch, which is just a delight, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's called the Halcyon River Diaries.
Yeah, I remember it came out when I was probably about 7 or 8, maybe.
I think you were even younger than that, maybe.
But I still remember watching it on TV and being absolutely mesmerised by it. It's so beautiful.
It is. It's absolutely lovely. So yeah, we definitely recommend that if you like nature writing.
And this is something that I've read, and I don't think you've got round to it yet. It's The Daisy Chain, and it's lovely. So it's set in the 1600s, late 1600s, and it follows the life of this botanical illustrator called Daisy. So yeah, I had to read it, and she ends up being involved with Kew Gardens, and it's such a beautiful light book. It's very similar in style to kind of Bridgerton. It's kind of like a science botanical Bridgerton kind of feeling. I don't know, you'll see what I mean if you read it, but I do highly recommend, and it's really sweet. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. A nice light springtime read, and the descriptions of like her illustrating all these beautiful plants, because obviously Kew was quite unique at the time for having all these collections of rare plants that weren't found in the UK, and just this young botanist is just so excited to see and capture everything. So yeah, I highly recommend. And
what have we got next?
This is one of our favourites again. This is something that I think I've read it like 2 or 3 times now. Cider with Rosie by Laurie Lee. So again, this is kind of autobiographical, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it is.
And talks about Laurie Lee's childhood.
In the early 1900s.
Yes.
If you haven't read it. And again, that's in the Cotswolds as well.
And
but the descriptions are just stunning, aren't they?
It's almost like poetry.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. If you love nature writing and haven't read it, it's just, it is absolutely exquisite writing, isn't it?
Yeah, and the kind of character portraits that he paints of all these people in the village where he grows up, it's so beautiful. I really love all the kind of, it's lots of kind of like little fragments of his memories from growing up, but it does kind of, they all kind of join together and make a really good story. But yeah,
and so again beautiful. It's another book that's again trying to capture for posterity, recording what life was like at that time, because he was obviously aware that things were changing very rapidly.
Yeah, in fact there's lots of kind of descriptions of cars starting to come into the countryside for the first time and everyone like, what is this racket? Yeah, it's really good. I really enjoyed it.
And there's also an amazing, did we bring it down or not?
Yes, I think
mind you, we were only able to get it through this, but yeah, Laurie Lee's Cider with Rosie. So it's the one with Juliet Stevenson. If you can get this, it is so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's narrated by the author, isn't it? The narrations in it is actually
yes, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, it's so beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Would really, really recommend watching that.
Yeah, it's really magical to have it narrated by the person who wrote it as well. And it's about his life, so it's really cool. I really enjoyed
incredible. That's what we've got next.
So this is one of yours.
Yes, Bird Cottage. So I'm going to have to read out what I've written because otherwise I'll forget about this. So it's by Eva Meijer. I think that's how you would pronounce it. And it's basically a novel which imagines the story of Len Howard, an author and naturalist who, after moving to a cottage in Sussex, England, recorded her observations on birds and her deep love and connection to them. And she even used to let them come and nest and things inside her cottage.
Very Snow White.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, it's sort of in diary form. But yeah, I just thought it was lovely. It was really touching. And again, reading about, somebody living in a cottage and, recording and having connections with birds it epitomises spring, really, doesn't it? That sort of thing. So yeah, I would really, really recommend that. You haven't read that. It's another one you need to read because I think you'd really like it.
And this is a classic. I'm not sure if any of you will have either read it or watched the film, which we're going to be talking about later. So this is Chocolat by Joanne Harris. And I think this is one of my favourites. I say this about lots of books.
And this is the first one. I don't know if anyone... Because actually, I bought this years ago and read it and loved it and was totally unaware that there were sequels to it.
So there are 4 books and they kind of lead on from this. Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't realise that the story continued. So, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So it starts during the Lent season, so just before Easter. And this woman and her child move to this little rural village in France and decide to open...
a chocolate shop.
Yeah. And obviously some of the residents who are sort of strict Catholics and very conservative don't approve of that because she's opening it during Lent, but also because she's
a woman on her own.
She's a woman on her own and she's obviously different. So we sort of, I can connect to that quite a lot. I really relate to the character in this book.
Yeah, everyone's scandalised by the fact that she's opened the shop on her own. It's a chocolate shop, it's Lent, and there's a lot of kind of magic and magical cookery going on in the shop, and everyone's like, ooh, witchcraft, what is this? So yeah, I think it's set during, is it the 60s?
Well, actually they don't specify a time. The film has it as being sort of late 50s, and I can see that it would fit into that.
Yeah, but then the following books in the series, I don't know, they feel more current, I find. I don't know about the second one so much. Yeah, maybe not the second one. But yeah,
But it's lovely, yeah.
It's
There's
lovely.
some really interesting characters in it. There's a lot of humour. It's just beautifully written, isn't it?
Yeah, it's magical, and there's all these delicious descriptions of her magical cookery and all her creations. Yeah, I really
Yeah, it's
enjoy
lovely.
it.
And if you haven't watched the film, then it stars Juliet, what's her name? Binoche, is it? Yes. Juliet Binoche and Johnny Depp and Judi Dench. So, I mean, you can't go wrong, really.
Yeah, the soundtrack is also really good.
Yeah, the soundtrack's really fun. Yeah, it's beautifully filmed as well, isn't it? So,
And this is...
yeah, I mean, kind of similar in some ways to... In fact, we've got 3 books that are sort of similar. I mean, they're also very different, so, you know, please do go and read all of them. So this is called The Fair Botanists, and it's set in Edinburgh. Oh, and the descriptions of Edinburgh are absolutely beautiful, because it's during the sort of early 1800s. And it's basically about a woman who's recently widowed. She goes and goes to live with relatives in Edinburgh, and then gets sort of involved with the Botanic Garden, and there's also lots of sort of intrigue and different things going on. So again, this does actually have slight Bridgerton vibes. You know, it's during that sort of Georgian period, and where there's different sort of, as I say, intrigue and mystery and things. And with the backdrop of the Botanic Garden and Edinburgh, it's just such a lovely book. Again, you haven't read this, have you?
No.
And you really should. It's a really fun book. Loads of sort of really great characters. And just Georgian Edinburgh is just amazing. And then another classic.
Aha. Classic, Darling Buds of May.
And then the one that's straight after, isn't it? I can't think what it's called.
When the
Greenwood Sing, is it?
Is it Laugh?
Laugh, thank you, yes. Or Laugh if you're from the south of England.
Just a classic. It's such a delight to read.
So it's set in if you don't know about it, it's about the Larkin family, that they have a small holding in the depths of the countryside in Kent, southeast England, in the 1950s, and it's just so cosy and wholesome. So it starts, as you can tell by the title, in May. Oh, and just the descriptions of bluebells and
they're such a cosy family as well.
And of nightingales singing, and they're all eat together, and it's just so good. It's just an idyllic sort of picture of rural life. So cosy. And again, please read the books first and then sort of compare. And actually, saying that though, even though it's cosy, I would say that Pop Larkin in the books is actually quite a bit more cantankerous than he is.
No.
Have you actually read? Have you read that or just watched this?
I seem to think that you read me parts of it when I was younger.
Possibly, but he's actually quite a bit more cantankerous in the books. But
that's saying something.
Yeah, but in the series, he's in the series, he's very jolly. But so it stars David Jason and a very young Catherine Zeta-Jones. I think it was her first sort of TV role, from what I remember. It's just beautiful. It's just, the scenery's lovely, the costumes are beautiful, and they're all in little, it's just idyllic.
It's made me want to watch it.
That's another one we're going to have to watch. It's really, really cozy. You must try and get your hands on a copy of that. What else have we got?
Aha.
Have we got any? Yeah.
Yes.
So, The Witch's Tree. Right, I've written a note saying, read blurb. So I shall read you the blurb. So this is sort of, in fact, the last 2, they weren't supposed to be together.
Weren't they?
No, because they're basically, they skip time periods. So one chapter you're in the present day, one chapter you're in 1682. So I'll read to you what it says. When a love affair ends, Selina needs a retreat, and the picture postcard Slow Cottage promises to be the perfect place. Sorry about the traffic, by the way. There's traffic lights, and with it being the Easter holidays have just started here in Wales.
Yeah.
And so basically during
Everyone's coming on
the
holiday.
holidays, everybody comes from England to Wales for the holidays.
Who can blame them?
Yeah, who can blame them? Anyway, where did I get to? Yeah, the picture postcard Slow Cottage promises to be the perfect place. Excuse me. Selina settles in as spring arrives, but it isn't long before she hears the past whispering to her. Slow Cottage is keeping secrets which refuse to stay hidden. And then the 1682 bit says, Grace Cotter is happy with her work on the farm and learning the secrets of her grandmother's healing hands, though she still hopes for love. But these are dangerous times for dreamers, and rumours can be deadly. One mismove and Grace's fate looks set. So, yeah, it's really, really good. I loved it. The descriptions, it's set in Somerset in southwest England. The descriptions of the countryside are lovely. The descriptions of Slow Cottage, which is a very old cottage, are absolutely beautiful. The descriptions of the sort of apothecary herbal garden outside the cottage, you would love it. You've got to read it. Oh, beautiful. And again, if you're like us and love some magical realism, it's just got it all, really. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it and would highly recommend it if you like any of those qualities in a book. And then my last one, which... Yeah, so this is set in 4 different places, actually.
Oh.
But again, they have a present day and then they have an 1886. So again, it's every other chapter is present day, every other chapter is 1886. So the present day, it starts off in Sydney, Australia, with a woman that's a gardener, and then she finds in her grandmother's old things, I think her grandmother must have recently died or something, she finds a box with some interesting seeds and some watercolours of some exotic plants and a diary, and that then brings her over to the UK. She goes to Kew and starts sort of investigating to see sort of the what had gone on in her family's past, really. And then the 1886 was obviously a relative, and that starts off in Cornwall. This woman lives in Cornwall with her father, and then she ends up going on an expedition to Valparaiso in Chile, hunting for these rare plants, and sort of a romance that follows and a mystery. And it's a really, really well written book, and it's lovely. The description of Kew are beautiful, and then of Cornwall, and then these amazing exotic plants and adventures in Chile. So again, it's about gardens and things. So it's
got us hooked.
Yes, yeah. So you can definitely see the themes that are running through the books that we love to read at this time of year.
And that's all the books, but we have plenty more.
Well, we've just got a couple more DVDs that again we associate with spring that you may be interested in trying to get your hands on. So My Uncle Silas, I mean, read the books as well. But so this is by H.E. Bates as well, who wrote the Darling Buds of May series. And this is lovely, really, about a lovable rogue who has just got, his cottage is just magical. And then his great nephew goes to stay with him for the summer. And they get up to all sorts of mischief. I mean, he really is a tinker, this guy.
He kind of makes his mission to teach his nephew Ed what he needs to know in life and that sort of thing.
Lots of bad,
what is important.
Lots of naughty things. But it's just so beautiful, and it really, I don't know, the way they've done the cottage that you live in, it really feels like going back in time.
It does.
It really feels like you've somehow opened a portal to, you know, and gone on a time slip and peeked your head through a window to sort of see these characters. There's just something so authentic about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we absolutely love it. I mean, it is naughty, and it's not very PC, is it? I would say at all, because he's kind of a guy in his late 50s, early 60s or something, and he's sort of chasing after these girls, not in a really awful sort of Benny Hill way, but still he's sort of, because he's sort of got such charm, he's sort of this lovable rogue, and all the ladies
everyone
seem to fall
falls
for
for
him. But I mean, it is a PG.
I don't know how.
No, I would have thought a 12. I mean, there isn't any language or anything like that, but yeah, it's so beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I can visualise it now and just think, oh.
I don't know, I think the first episode in particular always sticks in my head, because it's all like apple blossom everywhere.
Yeah, and his son's getting married in the garden, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So try and get your hands on that if you can.
A little bit different.
Oh, have we not got the book for that? Maybe, should we not show that then?
No, maybe
okay.
Until next time.
And then Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Read the book, please, if you love nature writing, if you love
Thomas Hardy, we love you.
I know some people struggle with Thomas Hardy. He's one of my absolute favourite authors. I could read him all day, every day. Because again, like the other books, the classics that I love so much, he really is desperately trying to record the rural England as it was at that time, and realising that, well, in fact, I think actually with Thomas Hardy, he was actually trying to capture something that had already gone, wasn't he? It had already gone by the time he was writing, but his memories of how it used to be. I just think it's magical. I just love his writing, and also I think he was a feminist. I mean, all his books are sort of saying basically how
these
unfair
women are being treated appallingly.
Yeah, these women are being treated appallingly, and why is there one rule for men and one rule for women, which I think was incredibly modern of him. So yeah, I'm a huge Hardy fan. Yeah. And this is was it an 80s one? I think it was.
Was it 80s?
Yeah. Yeah, it was an 80s one with Natasha.
It seemed very modern for 80s.
Yeah, Natasha Kinski. And it was was it a Roman Polanski? Yeah, it was a Roman Polanski one, Tess, which I do like. There's also a newer one with Gemma Atherton, which I also really like. And the reason that we associate it with spring is because in the book and in the films,
it starts on May Day.
Yeah, it starts on May Day with all the sort of the young women of the community dancing in a meadow. Around a maple sort of thing. So yeah, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
I'm very sad though.
Yeah.
Have a box of tissues with you. So we were not going to say that. Are we going to say that, or are we going to leave that for summer then?
Maybe leave that for summer. Ooh.
I think just that. Do you?
Yeah.
We won't bombard you with too many things. So this is something again that we love. It's called Born and Bred. It's a hefty DVD selection, lots and lots of DVDs in it, and this is set in the early 1950s, I think, in northwest England, in Lancashire. And yeah, it just follows sort of the characters, but it's beautiful, isn't it?
I grew up watching this.
Yeah, because it came out when you were a toddler, I think. And, it's so wholesome, isn't it?
It's so good.
And just, the days when communities would still sort of very much get together and things, it makes you really long for these days, which may not in reality have been, quite as rose. I'm sure there were sort of big issues, but they do make you sort of long for those times, don't they? And
it's really nice. It's kind of centred around the doctor's family. They're kind of like the hub of the community, and then it's kind of all the patients / friends in this little village.
Yeah, and they're all real characters. Yeah. But it's a really pretty village, and it's very funny, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we would definitely recommend that. Born and Bred, a BBC series.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, because we were going to show some other DVDs, but actually I think that we will leave that there because that's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot to be
for people to digest. So we hope that you found some inspiration for your sort of springtime reading and watching.
And we'll leave a full list of everything in the description in case you missed anything.
Yeah, so coming up for us, we Daisy's got exams when she goes back, so there's not going to be masses of sort of adventure time, sadly, this time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start. Yeah, I'm going to start introducing you to our cottage garden, which we have never done before, and probably because, to be honest, we've got a really rubbish camera on the phone, and we'll look at it and think, oh, that looks gorgeous. People will be interested in seeing this.
Yeah.
And then we get it up and it's like, oh, actually, you can't see anything.
Yeah, it's like, we'll look and it will be like, oh, the border full of all these lovely flowers and all these wonderful plants. Let's film it. It looks great. And then we'll look at it and it'd be like just a sea of green.
Yeah, you won't be able to, it doesn't pick out any of the details. It's not a good enough camera. So it's frustrating. But anyway, I really want to show you, that's my happy place. That's where my real passion is. And yeah, I want to show you what I do in it, and sort of give you tips and ideas. So yeah, if you're interested in that, let us know. If that's something you're interested in. I mean, you're going to get it anyway because I'm desperate to kind of show it. But yes, it'd be good to know if you actually we're interested in that.
It's nice having a record for us as well, because we're constantly improving the garden, and as we'll talk about, but it's just so lovely to look back on and be like, oh, look what, especially in the winter, if you're like, oh, look what it's like in the spring and summer.
Yeah, because you quite often forget and you think, oh, there's nothing here, and then you look back and think, oh wow, I'd forgotten that we have that. So yeah, I will share that with you, and what I've done to the garden and what we still want to do and things. And also we shot it this morning, a very small video. It's not slick, surprise, it's us just making vegan cream egg chocolates, which you may be interested in watching. So
they were delicious. We had them this afternoon.
Yeah, we had them just before we filmed this. Really, really good. But you can only eat half one each, because they are very sweet.
Okay.
But yeah, please subscribe, and please comment. We lost an awful lot of subscribers recently, which obviously isn't great. And it means that we don't know if what we're doing is of interest to anyone. And so, yeah, if you can subscribe, comment, encourage people to sort of take a look, then we would really appreciate that, because then we know where we're...
Yeah, or let us know what sort of content that we make that you enjoy, so we can make more of it.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, some of what we do, it's because we think other people might be interested, and some, as Daisy's alluded to, is because we want a record for ourselves so we can look back. Particularly my memory is getting terrible, and so I get great joy from sort of rewatching something and thinking, oh gosh, it was so beautiful there. I'm so pleased that we filmed that, because now I've got a permanent record of it. But yes, please do support us. We would really appreciate that. And any comments or suggestions will be much appreciated. Bye.